Hi Morgan, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm not sure if you know, but my name is Jocelyn Freitas, and I am your school counselor here at Smith Middle School. And one of your teachers gave me a referral for you, and do you happen to know why, maybe?
Well, I might not have been doing some work in class.
Okay. Well, your teacher, Mrs. Jones, she thought that maybe you're having some stress and anxiety on some tests and homework that you have in some of your honors classes. So she thought maybe sending you to me, we could kind of talk and see how you feel and maybe talk through some of that stuff. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we get started, I just want you to know that everything that you tell me is confidential. I don't share it with anybody, not coworkers, nothing like that. So it can remain private. The only time that I would have to say something is if you're about to harm yourself or if you're kind of sharing information that would harm somebody else. So other than that, we can keep things between us and start building some conversation and relationship. Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now I know that Mrs. Jones sent me the referral. Do you know kind of what maybe some behavior that you've exhibited that you think may have kind of maybe concerned her?
Well, we were watching a video, and I asked my partner what we were supposed to take notes on, and then she called. She saw the video. She told me to stop talking, and I told her that I was asking my friend something, and she said, "Well, you need to stop talking to your friend." And then
Oh, does that upset you?
yeah,
Yeah. Because you were just asking her if you needed to take notes for it. Well, I understand that. And which class is that in?
social studies.
Social studies. Well, maybe before we dive into that stuff too much, I heard that you're an athlete, and I heard you're a great softball and volleyball player. Any other sports that you play?
Basketball too.
Basketball. Oh, so your height definitely comes in handy in all three of those, right? So tell me, which sport do you like the best so far?
I don't know.
You're not sure? Yeah. Well, how does your? I guess you'd be in softball all stars right now. So how'd your team do? I heard you had a tournament this weekend.
We got second place in the championships for our first tournament.
Very cool. And how'd you do?
I played center field.
Center field. Did you get a lot of balls out there? Yeah. You did?
For the first time ever.
Really? So do you not normally get those like in league?
In rec, yeah.
Oh, okay. So the
and
girls.
my voice is completely gone.
From celebrating your second place win? Well, that's exciting. That's very cool. So, yeah, I guess they'd be maybe better hitters, huh? And you're all stars to where you're getting balls in the outfield versus league. Well, okay. Well, how about volleyball? Are you doing volleyball right now too?
No, actually my season ended in April.
Okay. Is that school or club volleyball?
Club.
Club. Okay. So you have a break then for a little while. And so
I play volleyball and then rec ball just ends and then all-star starts.
so you don't have any breaks really.
Well, I have like a week break, so
A week?
yeah. I'm good with it.
What do you do during that week?
Well, it's still school, so I go to school.
So you don't really have a whole vacation? So out of school, then I guess after school, you go right into All-Stars for softball? Oh, wow. So you're busy all the time. Okay. Well, maybe that could be something that Mrs. Jones may have picked up on too, is that you're really busy, in your sports, and you have, sounds like your classes that you have that she shared with me, that you have some honors classes, and I know that those can be, pretty stressful and a lot of work, unlike just, the regular classes. So, which honors classes do you have?
Language arts and math.
Oh, very good. That's good. But that's a lot. So, how are you doing in those classes?
I have A's right now.
That's very good. Good for you. And in your schedule, in your current schedule, what's your favorite class?
Art, because it's really laid back.
Yeah. So you don't have a lot of homework?
I don't have any homework.
No. Well, I can understand why that might be your favorite class.
Art and PE, no homework.
Do you like art itself, or is it just the premise of not having homework and it's kind of more relaxed that you like it?
And the teacher helps you with the project so you don't completely fail.
I gotcha. So the teacher helps out too. So you don't have a lot of stress going into art. Okay. That makes a lot of sense here. Okay, well, tell me some things that you do. Tell me some examples that you currently have experienced that have kind of caused a lot of stress or anxiety for you.
Trying to keep up my grades and doing softball at the same time. So like maybe staying up till like midnight doing homework and stuff.
Oh, wow. So I guess after school you'd have softball and then you don't have a chance to do your homework until after practice. Yeah, that definitely can take a toll on you because then what time do you get up in the morning?
No, like 7.
Yeah, so you don't get a whole lot of sleep then, maybe not fully rested with your schedule. Okay. How do you handle stress or anxiety?
I usually just channel it through sports.
That's very good. It's a good, healthy way. Channeling it through exercise or sports is very good. Any other ways that you use to kind of cope with stress?
I usually try to do my homework in class,
Okay.
and that helps a lot.
Yeah, so if you get it done in class, you don't have to worry about it after practice and stay up late. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, well, why don't we do this? What I'd like to share with you is just kind of like talk about stress, maybe some healthy ways that we can, learn to cope with it, some stress techniques, stress management techniques. I think that would probably be beneficial for you. I think it sounds like you're doing a really good job with trying to channel it into your sports. But you may not always have that opportunity if you're in the classroom or during the day to channel it. So I guess how would you deal with stress at that moment, right? So you're in the classroom, so you don't have practice until later. How do you handle that stress? So you tell me how you would handle that.
Maybe stay away from the teacher as much as possible.
Okay. So why would you want to stay away from the teacher?
Because maybe they're not listening to what's really going on.
Okay. Okay. Do you have an example of that?
Like when teachers get the wrong impression of what's going on with students, it's kind of hard to explain when they think they're right all the time.
Okay. Is there maybe a specific example that you can give me that you feel comfortable giving me?
Well, like the vice principal, the kid was making fun of my friend and about her new shoes, and he said that nothing was going on. So I told her what was going on, and she said, well, you need to find a better way to approach him. And I said, but this is my friend we're talking about. And she said, well, that sucks. She can handle her own problem.
So you were trying to help a friend, and it sounds like the kid was kind of bullying her in a way about her shoes, and you're trying to stick up for her. And it doesn't sound like the teacher was very helpful for you. Yeah. That's unfortunate. Do you think if he or she understood the situation a little bit more, it would have been different? They would have handled it different?
I hope so.
Yeah. And you didn't have the opportunity to let them know? Yeah. I definitely can. I hear you on that one. And sometimes as teachers, maybe sometimes they have so much going on. Sometimes, how your schedule can be really busy and have a lot of kids, and they may not be, hearing what you're trying to say. And if they hear maybe noise, right? So they're trying to just shut down the noise, and when you're really trying to communicate, with the teachers. So I understand how that can kind of be turn off then from sharing any more information with that teacher. Does that happen? So in that situation, did you feel like, was it kind of stressful that you didn't feel that you could communicate with that teacher?
Kind of doesn't make you want to talk to that teacher anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that I understand. Okay. Maybe what we can do now is we can talk about some stress management techniques that you can do when you're not playing, softball. We will talk though about healthy exercise. I think that's great that you do that. A lot of people don't use that to their advantage, And I think that's very good that you try to channel it into exercise or your sports. So I gave you a handout, and yep, that one right there, labeled it number 1 there. And it talks about skills for dealing with stress. So looking at the first one, it talks about when to talk. So what this is really talking about is a skill for dealing with stress is trying to find a time when things are calm. So maybe for the example that you gave me with the teacher and the shoes, with your friend's shoes, maybe finding a time where it may have been a little bit more calmer for the teacher, and kind of take her aside and explain why you were sticking up for your friend. And maybe you'd have a different response from that teacher. I don't know. I'm not in your class with you, and I don't know what type of relationship you have with that teacher, but that could be one way. When teachers just hear noise, they tend just to shh everybody, right? And when someone's really trying to communicate to them, they may not get it. They're just kind of quieting you down. And it could be maybe just picking a better time when it's more calm, and the teacher, you're going to be able to see the teacher stressed, right? You can tell if they're really tense and they're getting annoyed or irritated versus when they're pretty calm and relaxed. So when you sense a calm time, you may want to then just go and talk to them and just share that information. What I think would be kind of unfortunate is if you chose not to share and communicate anymore with that teacher, because it just becomes more stressful for you, right? Because you're going to have situations where it sounds like you're really good at sticking up for your friends. And I would hate to see, I would just hate to see you not communicate with the teacher when you could probably have a pretty good relationship. Some kind of, we can talk about like what to say, things to ask. How often do you feel stressed? So Morgan, tell me, how often do you think you feel stressed?
Well, like sometimes during the day, like if it's a hard day.
Mm-hmm. So would you say, is there one class in particular that kind of keeps, like every time you go there, you're kind of dreading it? And yeah, there is. Okay, what class is that one?
My social studies class.
Your social studies, okay. And tell me, why does that cause you kind of a little bit more stress than your other ones?
Because the teacher's really boring, and then she expects us to remember everything she says.
Oh.
And it's kind of dreary and dragging on.
Yeah, so does she lecture a lot? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like, she'll be all, okay, I will give you half the class period to do this. And then she'll lecture more than half the class period.
Mm. So then, is there not a lot of time left to do your homework in that class? Okay. And I know that kind of stresses you out because you play sports all the time, right? So then you're going to have to do that later on. Tell me a little bit more about the social studies, maybe. What, besides lecturing and your textbooks, does she use any other ways to kind of like get you guys engaged?
She uses like CNN, student news, and
like current events?
And like just regular videos.
Okay. Is there another class that maybe the subject is just as hard as your social studies, yet the teacher kind of does it a little bit differently, that you kind of seem like it fits you a little bit better, like your way of learning maybe?
Science is really fun.
Science? Okay.
She uses computers and she gives us free time at the end.
So free time at the end really is kind of what you would like, because that kind of gives you some time to get...
And she lets us use the computers for our free time.
Oh, okay. And what do you guys do on the computers? Do you do your homework, or you just kind of
You can
browse?
Can go, yeah.
You browse, okay.
Like you can listen to music. She'll let you listen to music.
That's good, okay.
On OK sites.
Yeah, no.
Because they blocked out all the old, bad ones.
Yep. Rightfully so, right?
Yeah.
So listening to music, that's a very good idea. So you can do that towards the end of class? That's nice, okay. And let's see. Are there any other stress management techniques that you've ever learned outside of channeling Stress for sports? No. So that's basically that's your go-to. Okay. Okay. Well, let me tell you that stress is part of your everyday life, and right now you're going to graduate, from 8th grade soon, and then you're going to be moving on to high school, and then in college, and then a career. So I will tell you, it does not go away. You're going to have stress all around you, probably every day of your life. The best part, I think, is really to identify ways to cope with it in positive ways and not negative. So an example of negative, do you know what a negative technique would be?
Like threatening people and stuff.
Like lashing out, kind of? Okay, yep. Lashing out's definitely not a positive way to deal with stress. There's also like eating, right? So maybe overeating, or binge eating, or kind of unhealthy
Kind of
diet.
watching TV too much.
Yeah. Even watching TV too much, kind of zoning out isn't the best thing. Really, what we've learned is the best way is to do something healthy and positive way to handle your stress. What you're doing with the sports that's a great way. But I think you need another technique for the classroom and just for when you aren't able to go out on the court or out on the field, to cope with your stress. I think it'd be a good way for you to learn some other techniques that you can use. So let me just tell you just a few things about stress that might be helpful for you. So under the things to know, you'll see when you're under stress, your muscles tense up and your breathing turns to shallow. So I don't know if you've ever noticed that maybe when you're pitching and there's pressure on you and the bases are loaded and it's the 7th inning, and the winning run is on first and you're trying to, not let them score to win. So I'm sure that's a lot of pressure put on you. So just know at that moment you tense and your breathing is a little bit shallow, and it's very normal that it happens to all of us. But what I'll do is I'll kind of teach you a way that maybe in that situation, something that you can use to help you get through that. And let me tell you about just a few things that you can, some positive ways to cope with stress. If you want to turn to the stress management technique handout. There you go. Perfect. So deep breathing is one that you could use in that situation that I just described. So as I told you, your muscles tense and your breathing turns shallow. One way would be take deep breaths and hold them and relax. So about 8 to 10 breaths. I know if you're pitching, you may not have all of that time, right? So, but after you get the ball back, kind of walk around the mound or whatever, kind of just take a few deep breaths and just kind of calm your inner self, and you can feel your muscles will start relaxing. And it actually helps your breathing, and it will help you with the pitching as well. Because when you tense up, sometimes you place the ball, and this might help you kind of just let your body go and your muscle memory. So muscle memory is you practicing all the time, you're pitching all the time, and your muscles remember exactly where to go when you're loose and relaxed. So they're smarter than we think they are, right? So you do something enough and it is very good. So this section just tells you right there some deep breathing. Also, there's progressive muscle relaxation, the second part. So this means that you kind of just do a little bit at a time. You tense different muscle groups one at a time and then let them relax. So an example would be like start with your toes right now. So you start with your toes and you tense them. So there you go, curl them really hard, right? And then just kind of relax them and let go. And kind of do that a few times. And then just start doing it with maybe your fingers. And I don't want you to look weird in class or anything, if you're trying to do all your arms and stuff, but you could do maybe a few that, you can do easily in a classroom and sitting at your desk. So you can move your ankles, all that kind of stuff. The next one that I really like to use outside of the deep breathing is really one of my favorites, but guided imagery. What that basically is go to your happy place. Okay, so my happy place is Disneyland. It always has been. I can just, whenever I'm in pain, I always think, okay, Disneyland, and I just try to take my mind off of it. Do you have like a happy place?
No, definitely Disneyland.
Disneyland? That's mine too. So sometimes what you can do is just choose a place that you're familiar with and you're happy and start thinking about that. And that starts kind of distracting and kind of takes your focus away of, instead of thinking about the stress and the pressure, you're thinking about something happy. So your muscles obviously start to relax. So let me just kind of recap for our first session, because I know you have a class coming up and you need to get back to. So what we'll do is I'd like you to take this handout here and take this with you, and I'd like you to try to fill that out. Just how we talked about what a positive response to stress and then a negative response, and kind of do a few of those and see if you can come up with what a positive response to that stressful situation, and then a negative. So we talked about diet, right? And then being active is a positive, and eating or binge eating is a negative. So I think the next session we'll go through that, and we'll talk about stress management techniques a little bit more, maybe some journaling, and I also want to give you this. These are just reminders, and you have this handout of positive ways to cope with stress. And let me ask you, do you have any questions?
No.
No? Okay. Do you think that maybe, I don't know, in your situations in the classroom, since you use sports outside of the classroom, but you can try to use some of these techniques, maybe the deep breathing? That might be one of the best ones.
That will
right?
definitely help.
Okay. So yeah, do some deep breathing, and then when I see you next, tell me how it is. And we'll kind of talk through the situations where you chose, you started feeling the pressure, and then you remember to start taking the deep breaths, and then you can share that with me next time. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do you have any other questions?
No, thank you, though.
Well, thank you, Morgan. I appreciate you coming in, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.